Hi bakers, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how to make my cherry crunch vanilla cake. Packed with delicious cherry flavor, different textures from the smooth buttercream to the crunchy walnuts to the sweet cherries to the extra sweet cherries. Of course, I'll throw the full recipe, ingredients, steps, and directions not only for the vanilla cake, but how to fill it, how to decorate it, and how to enjoy your own cherry crunch vanilla cake right at home. Of course, if you want even more delicious recipes, don't forget to subscribe down below and turn notifications so you don't miss out every time I post a new recipe. Now, I'm gonna stop blabbing. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started with this delicious, so good vanilla cherry crunch cake. And we're gonna take our first layer of cake and we're just gonna go and brush a little tiny bit of maraschino cherry syrup right on the cake itself. Then we're gonna go ahead and take some white vanilla buttercream and add a nice coating on top of our cake layer before going back in with more buttercream in a piping bag and piping a simple border on the outside edge of our cake. And this is really gonna make sure that all of our fillings and our cake goodness stay right inside each cake layer. Once you have that border, go ahead and start filling your cake. First up, we're gonna take some chunks of walnuts and just sprinkle those right into our buttercream border. Now I'm gonna be using chunks of walnuts to really get that nice crunch and texture inside each cake layer. If you want your walnuts a little bit smaller, pulse them a little bit, pop them in a plastic baggie, hit them with a rolling pan. Either way, up to you how you want your walnuts into your cake layer. Once you have that nice walnut layer, we're gonna follow that up by adding in chopped maraschino cherries. And just like the walnuts, I'm using full chunks of maraschino cherries. I just cut them in half. If you want smaller cherries though for your cake layers, go ahead, just take your paring knife and just give them a little chop before you put them inside your cake layer. Once you have that first layer complete, so we're talking cake, buttercream frosting border, walnuts, cherries, you want to add your next cake layer and continue these steps until your cake has all the desired layers that you're looking for. Now I'm going to be doing quite a few layers, not too high, but still want a nice amount of cake with all the filling that's going into it. So I'm going to be using multiple layers. Again though, completely up to you how high and how much cake you actually want. But if you're following along with me exactly, we're going to be using 6 cake layers. Then when it's time to add your last layer of cake on top, we're going to take our bottom cake layer and invert it so the underside is on top and we have a nice flat surface for the top of our cake with our decorations and our buttercream coating. Now let's grab a straight spatula and we're going to begin our crumb coat. So we're going to take vanilla buttercream and we're just going to cover completely the outside of our cake. Trust me, if you've ever simply tried to frost a cake with just one thick layer of frosting, you're gonna know all too well that little stray crumbs usually get caught in. And simply put, a crumb coat is gonna prevent that. Next up, we wanna grab our bench scraper. You can either use a metal or plastic one or acrylic. Either way, I like to try to keep it as tall as the cake I'm gonna be decorating with. This way I don't get like a weird overlay with the buttercream. I don't know, it's weird to describe. But I always like to keep the height as consistent with the height of my cake to make sure I have a nice even coating of buttercream. So let's grab that bench scraper and we're just gonna go ahead and slowly rotate our cake turntable, letting our bench scraper or our cake scraper do all the work here when it comes to smoothing our buttercream. Keeping in mind that the goal is to have a thin layer of buttercream. Once you're happy with that crumb coating for your cake, go ahead and pop in the fridge and let it hang out, let it chill, let it stabilize. Stabilize is maybe too much of an aggressive word, but let it hang out in the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes to really firm up before you pull it back out and take some sky blue vanilla buttercream and pipe around your cake. The easiest way I find to do this is to put my buttercream in a piping bag, hold that up against the cake, not touching it though, and allow my cake turntable to do all the work as I'm turning it and gradually working my piping bag in an upward motion so the cake just becomes surrounded with rings of buttercream. Now let's pop in with our handy dandy cake scraper and begin to smooth over this blue buttercream on our cake. Still trying to do so gently. Let that cake turntable do all the work here. You've baked your cake, you're beginning to decorate. Just let the turntable help you. It's gonna be your best friend in the kitchen. Plus, keep in mind not to firmly press your cake scraper or your smoothing tool into the cake because we do have that crumb coat layer and we don't want that to push into the cake and start picking up crumbs, especially if you have a crummy cake like my yellow vanilla cake. After you're happy with that last coating of blue buttercream on your cake, we're gonna go ahead and finally begin to decorate. So for cherry placement, I'm gonna be using the back side of a piping tip and I'm just gonna be gently kissing the buttercream we just put on our cake with a couple of circles so I can kind of have a visual aid of where I wanna pipe my cherries. Of course, you can do big cherries, you could do little cherries, you could do a mix of big and little medium-sized cherries, completely up to you. I just suggest having that nice visual aid. This way you know about how much piping you're about to do. When you're ready to pipe your red cherries on your cake, grab your red buttercream in a piping bag fitted with a medium-sized round tip and begin to kiss the outside of your cake with double dots of red buttercream, using your visual aid as markers of where to pipe on that red buttercream. Next up is gonna be our cherry stems and our little cherry stem leaf. Of course, for this, we're gonna be using green buttercream in a piping bag, and we're gonna be using a round tip again, but it's gonna be a lot smaller. You don't have to use the small rounding tip. For me, I find it to be extremely helpful because when I just use the piping bag, it tends to come out a little flat and square and not really round, which is what I'm looking for my green cherry stems for my cake decorations. So we have our blue buttercream, we have our red cherries with our green stems. It's gonna be time now to move to the top of our cake. Grab some uncolored white vanilla buttercream in a piping bag fitted with your favorite nozzle, and we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna pipe dollops on top of our cake on the outside edge. Once you have those dollops of buttercream on the outside edge, we're gonna go back in with more walnuts and maraschino cherries. And we're just gonna go ahead and we're just gonna fill that gap of empty space with our walnuts and our maraschino cherries. To add a little bit of sparkle, to add a little bit of glam, to make this cake super fabulous, we're gonna be bringing in some edible gold luster dust right in our kitchen. And we're gonna take our whole cherries, stem and all, and we're just gonna dip them into a tiny little bowl of gold luster dust, making sure that we're getting full coverage here and a full deep gold sparkly saturation. And after you're done with that luster dust, you should have just a simple, I don't know if you could see it, but a simple gold sparkly cherry that's gonna sit right on top of our cake and kiss each dollop of buttercream that we just piped on earlier. With that last gold sparkly cherry kissing the top of your cake, that's it. We're done. Pat on the back, chef's kiss, mwah, mwah, all around. You have one delicious vanilla cherry crunch cake packed with delicious cherry flavor, different textures from the smooth buttercream to the crunchy walnuts, to the sweet cherries, to the extra sweet cherries, to the sour cherries. All in all, just one delicious cherry cake that you cannot go wrong with. Alrighty everybody, well that is gonna do it for today. I had so much fun showing you how to make this vanilla cherry crunch cake. I know, and when I say fun, I know I say that in every video, but truly, legit, had so much fun making this cake with all of you. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, like a couple weeks. Talk about that maybe in another video, or actually maybe just in the comments of this video or over on the community tab. Nothing too crazy, just scheduling wise, there's been a lot going on. A lot of new projects and a lot of personal things as well. Good personal though, nothing bad. But yeah, if you're curious about that, I'll talk in the community tab or down below in the comments just to let you know. But in a couple weeks here, maybe going into March, I should be coming to a more consistent schedule like we were before the new year with weekly recipes, but still trying to find that balance. But we're getting there, getting super close. But I'm still baking and still writing and developing a lot of delicious recipes. So once we get back to that normal schedule, I think you are gonna love all of them, which is why you should subscribe down below and turn on notifications so you don't miss out all these delicious recipes I'm going to be sharing with you coming up very soon. I just slipped out of my slipper. So, but also if you make your own vanilla cherry crunch cake, definitely give a tag on Instagram. You know, let me see what you're baking up in your kitchen. Alrighty, well that's gonna do it for today. I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee, grab a slice of cake, enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. I hope you get to do the same. And as always, I will see you all in the next video soon. Hopefully very soon, but definitely soon, if not very soon. I hope that makes sense. That made sense in my head. But either way, have a great day. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.